Hi, welcome back with a new story. Let's start the video. He shoved her against the wall, his badge gleaming under the station lights. You don't belong here, he growled, but she didn't flinch. She looked him dead in the eye, calm unbroken, and whispered, You just assaulted your new chief. Asterisk, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above the polished floor of the precinct. Morning roll call had just ended when the doors swung open and a woman stepped inside, calm, composed, and dressed in a crisp white suit that seemed almost too clean for the scuffed floors beneath her heels. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. She was met not with greetings, but with stares, some curious, some cold, and from the back of the room, a man's voice, sharp and mocking, cut through the silence. Lost ma'am. Civilian office is down the hall. The woman didn't answer. She walked further inside, her eyes steady, her presence unsettlingly calm. She reached into her bag, not for a weapon, but for a single piece of paper. Before she could unfold it, two officers stepped in front of her, blocking her path like she was a trespasser in their kingdom. Ma'am, you can't be here, one of them said, voice thick with authority and assumption. She looked at him quietly. I'm exactly where I need to be. The taller officer smirked. Oh yeah, and who were you supposed to be? When she didn't answer fast enough, his hand came up too close, too sudden. The slap echoed louder than it should have. The room froze. She stumbled slightly, one hand bracing the counter behind her. But she didn't cry out. She didn't even blink away the tears gathering at the edge of her eyes. Instead, she looked back at him with an expression that could have shattered glass. Not anger, not fear, just disappointment. And then, in a voice steady as stone, she said the words that silenced the room. You just assaulted your new chief. The words hung in the air, heavy as thunder. For a full 3 seconds, no one moved. The man's smirk faltered first. His hand dropped. The laughter that had been bubbling in the corner of the room died mid-breath. Behind her, the double doors opened again. A city official stepped in, a clipboard in hand, his voice brisk and professional. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Chief Maya Daniels, your new commanding officer. The color drained from the officer's face. Before this morning, Maya Daniels had spent 20 years serving her city in ways few ever noticed. Born on the east side of town, raised by a mother who worked 3 jobs and a father who wore the same uniform she now wore with pride, Maya learned early what respect meant and how easily it could be denied. She had served in Afghanistan, leading a field unit that once saved 30 civilians during an ambush. Her soldiers used to call her Ironheart, not because she was unfeeling, but because she never broke, no matter how much pressure the world put on her. But when she came home, she found another battlefield waiting, one without gunfire, but just as dangerous. She rose through the ranks quietly, never shouting, never begging to be seen. Every promotion she earned came slower than it should have. Every victory was questioned. Every mistake was magnified. Yet, she endured, because she believed the badge meant something sacred, something worth protecting even from within. Now, standing in that precinct, with the sting of an officer's hand still burning faintly on her cheek, she represented something larger than herself. She didn't lecture them. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. The room shifted. Officers who had once looked at her like a stranger now avoided her eyes. Some lowered their heads in shame, but a quiet few stepped forward, their faces full of quiet pride. One of them, a young rookie named Rivera, broke the silence. Chief Daniels, he said softly, we didn't know. Maya's gaze softened. That's the problem, officer. Too many people act before they know. It wasn't anger in her voice, just truth, the kind that cuts deeper than any punishment could. Over the next few weeks, the precinct began to change, not because Maya demanded it, but because her example made excuses impossible. She arrived before dawn, stayed after dark, and spoke to every officer who had once looked through her. She listened to their frustrations, their fears, their prejudices. And somehow, she didn't fight them, she transformed them. When a community complaint came in, she handled it personally. When an officer hesitated during a crisis, she stood beside him. Her leadership wasn't loud, it was steady. But the officer who had struck her that day, Sergeant Walker, found himself unraveling under the weight of guilt. For days, he avoided her, expecting punishment. None came, until one morning, she called him into her office. He stood there, rigid, unable to meet her eyes. I'm not here to ruin your career, she said quietly. I'm here to make sure you never forget what that badge is supposed to mean. He swallowed hard. I don't deserve to be here, Chief. She paused, then spoke words that would stay with him for the rest of his life, then earned the right to stay. It wasn't forgiveness, it was responsibility, and that, somehow, was heavier. Weeks turned into months, and under Maya's command, the precinct became known for something rare, integrity. Complaints dropped, community trust rose. Even the officers who had once mocked her began to take pride in saying, she's our chief, and yet, she never spoke of that morning again. The slap, the humiliation, the silence, it became a ghost she carried quietly, a reminder that respect isn't given, it's proven, every single day. But those who were there never forgot. They remembered the moment she stood in front of a room full of men who doubted her and didn't shout, didn't fight, just stood unbroken. Her quote became legend within the department. Power isn't in the voice that shouts loudest, it's in the one that doesn't need to. Another was etched on a plaque near the front desk months later. Dignity speaks when anger would only echo. On the anniversary of her appointment, Maya walked through the same hallway where it had all begun. Officers she once couldn't trust, now nodded with quiet respect. Sergeant Walker, now reformed, stood at attention as she passed. He never spoke of what he did that day, but his every action since had become an apology without words. Maya stopped at the end of the corridor, looking at the emblem on the wall, the same badge that had once been used against her, and for the first time, she smiled. The city had given her a uniform, but she had given it meaning again. Asterisk respect isn't a rank, it's a choice one made in every interaction, every day. With every person who crosses our path, Chief Maya Daniels proved that true leadership doesn't shout. It stands tall, in silence, demanding change through example, not ego. Wherever you're watching from, share in the comments what this story made you feel, and if you believe silent strength still has the power to change hearts. Subscribe for more stories that honor the quiet heroes who remind us what respect truly means.